up, guys? We're back with another edition of Digging Deep with Joe Gravel. Today we have a new co-host, Mike Bealby, and we have Sergio Pinheiro as usual. Today we're going to talk about Conor McGregor and the absolutely insane events that unfolded on Saturday night at UFC 257. To a large part of the world, that may have been shocking, but to us, we knew Dustin could get it done, but it still was crazy. I predicted a second-round knockout by Conor McGregor, and it was Dustin Poirier who got the second-round knockout. Sergio, man, how's it going? How do you feel about that?
Man, I'm doing well. I still same sort of boat, man. I still can't believe it happened. I'm not surprised Dustin won the fight. Like that doesn't surprise me. I knew it was possible. I knew there was a very good chance Dustin could win it. I wasn't expecting it to happen the way it did. I thought third, fourth, fifth round, maybe we'd start to see Conor fade, but I didn't think it was going to go that way. It's funny because I'm watching videos of coaches who kind of predicted that this would happen, and it's just ridiculous that so many people thought that this was the way it was going to go. But yeah, to me, it's complete shock.
Mike.
Yeah, no, for me, Sergio, you kind of hit that on the nail. I agreed with what you said quite a bit there. I thought Dustin could win. I picked Conor. I thought he'd probably get it done second or third round. Didn't think first round, but the way Dustin, his game plan was flawless. He executed it perfectly. You got his coach, Mike Brown. He was huge, implementing everything, the leg kicks, even just like the grappling early on, just changed everything. Conor got up, like didn't take damage while he was on the mat. The moment he's up, he's a different fighter. So, you got to give Poirier credit. I'm still stunned. It was one of those things, like, in my sleep, every time I'd roll over, Conor got knocked out round 2. Oh, my goodness. I'm still shocked, but I'm fired up for Dustin, man. Couldn't happen to a better guy.
Yeah. Sorry. I was the same way, just stunned when it happened. I remember standing up, just looking at my TV in disbelief, but just so happy for Dustin, but still just shocked. Like I had seen the greatest upset of all time, although it wasn't. But
100%. I know what you mean. Yeah.
And to your point, Sergio, it's crazy. A lot of professional coaches and a lot of fighters, predicted. They gave the what would I call the general answer? If it goes far, it'll favor Dustin, and if it happens early, it'll favor McGregor. And I mean, we got the exact opposite. So that's how unbelievable what happened really was. So that brings me to my next point. What's next for Conor McGregor? Now we got to look at possible opponents. So let's look at the tail of the tape. 22-5 now, age 32, height 5'9", 155 pounds, 74-inch reach. All right, Sergio, you're the matchmaker here, man. You always have some interesting options. Who do you have for Conor McGregor? What's up next for him, man? Where does he go from here?
Yeah, so obviously he's competed both at welterweight and lightweight. He's also competed at featherweight. I think that cuts too much for him, so I'm ruling that out completely. So there's a couple options that instantly came to my mind. The first one is a little bit out of left field. And, when people are saying Nate Diaz, I'm like, screw it. Let's throw Nick in, right? Now, Nick wants to fight in 2021, and I always have to have one out of left field. So Nick Diaz, Nick Diaz would come back, and it would kind of be like a big brother defending his younger brother type thing. It would make an interesting matchup. Also, with a guy like Conor, you have to sell. It's got to be the main event of a pay-per-view. It's got to be a huge card. You're not going to throw him in as a co-main event. That's just not what he does. So it's got to be a big fight. The other option I have is Rafael dos Anjos. Obviously, they were supposed to fight before. The fight fell through. Nate Diaz got put in there, and obviously they have bad blood. Rafael dos Anjos could have had the biggest payday of his career, ended up losing the belt next time out. Conor McGregor ended up becoming, a global superstar. So they still have that bad blood. So why not run that back?
Two great options right there. You know me, huge Diaz fan. I would love that. And the fight that was always supposed to happen with RDA. And I like how you didn't just say RDA. You gave him that whole name credit that he deserves. All right, Mike, what do you got? What do you got for Conor McGregor?
Well, I got to say, first of all, that Nick Diaz one, I didn't think of that one, but that is intriguing. Nate crossed my mind. The Dustin rematch doesn't really it doesn't get me going at this point. I think Dustin, I think we all agree Dustin's got to be for a title next. Probably Charles Oliveira. Michael Chandler was a option until Dustin kind of vetoed that in the interview. For me, I think Tony Ferguson, Conor McGregor is a great main event in pay-per-view. I don't want to just discredit Tony's 12-fight win streak. I know he was never the full-on champion, but I think he's earned enough. What he's done with the UFC in that lightweight division, he's earned that main event spot, probably more so than, Diaz. It's a great fight. They're going to talk shit. It's a fun fight week. It gets me going. That's my pick.
I like it. All right, I got one for you guys. The Diaz trilogy was my number one. That's the least interesting one. But the guy who's preparing for a triathlon, who says he'll only come back if someone calls him with something interesting, I would love to see the fool at the desk. Isn't that what Conor called him? I don't know. He said something just completely random and business savvy. I think he was thinking down the road, if Felder ever does the right things to line this up, that's who it would be, Paul Felder. I think Paul Felder versus Conor McGregor, they can fight over who deserves the Irish nickname. No, I'm just kidding. But I think it would be excellent. Stylistically, I think it would be a fun fight. You don't see Paul Felder shooting for many takedowns, but you do see him throwing some vicious leg kicks. Conor would really have to come in with a different style or whatever it may be, but I think that would be super interesting. Like the Tony Ferguson matchup, Mike, that you mentioned, for Felder and Tony, they're both coming off of losses. And I think they need fights where they can get back into the win column. Not saying that they can't beat Conor McGregor, but I think we would all agree that's one of the tougher tests you could give those two men. So for their side, I think they would do it because something Sergio always brings up is money-wise, it's a great payday. But as for them to get, full steam ahead again, Conor McGregor isn't a good, fight. As for
absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree with you there.
Yeah. So that's how I feel about those options. Another name I had written down, this one's just out of left field, but it would be fun. Imagine if this guy could say he fought Khabib and Conor McGregor, Al Iaquinta. Where's he been? What's he just selling real estate? I'd love to see Al come back and fight Conor McGregor. If Conor would like to take that, I'm sure he could find lots of reasons why it would be beneficial for him. And what does Al have to lose? You know what I mean? He went 5 rounds with the greatest of all time. So I think that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard. Sorry to cut you off there. I haven't heard anybody suggest that. I like it. Like you said, Al has nothing to lose there. It's a nice payday. Conor probably thinks he gets a nice highlight out of it. That's not saying he should think that, but you don't want to take Al lightly. But he probably goes in a pretty heavy favorite in that one.
I want to pose a different question here because obviously I think a lot of the reasons why we're giving them like the Diaz brothers and these big names is because he's Conor McGregor. Yeah. Now, if you were to take the name value out of it, this guy is not Conor. He's just a guy who fought Dustin and lost. Would your matchup be different? Because I know the first name I'd think of is the winner of Beneil Dariush and Carlos Diego Ferreira. That would probably be my number one option for him. What would you guys say if it wasn't Conor, it was just another guy who didn't quite have the name value that Conor does?
Yeah, I'll go first. With the way they're ranked, I think they're ranked back-to-back. Beneil and Diego, they're both on those 5-fight win streaks with a bunch of finishes within them. And where Conor's ranked right now, coming off of that loss, the inactivity, the winner of that fight versus Conor, I think that would make tons of sense. But with the name given, we throw out these larger names for him automatically. But honestly, when you bring that up, I would love to see Conor McGregor versus like Beneil Dariush or even Diego Ferreira personally. But I could see how people would be like, might not know the opponent, and Conor would, he needs a pay-per-view. So that's the other thing. But how do you feel, Mike?
Yeah, no, I agree that's probably a matchup I would be looking at for if his name wasn't Conor McGregor. Unfortunately, he will be main event of a pay-per-view. It's just the way it is. Diego Ferreira, Beneil Dariush, just the way it is. Won't happen.
Yeah.
But stylistically, those could be fun.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I would be very fired up for that.
And if he wants to stay active, you have to think, how many possible big fights, he might have to get that. Like last year, he was entertaining the Diego Sanchez fight. And when he backed up why he said that, it kind of made sense to me. He's like, I wanted to fight like 5 times or multiple times. So throwing Diego Sanchez in the mix, he's a legend. He's this, he's that. Why not get the octagon time in and still fight a worthy opponent, according to him? You know what I mean? So that would be awesome. Like we said, it was shocking. But as for the world of MMA, it might be a good thing with a Conor McGregor loss, seeing that this makes him more active. Would you agree with that, Sergio, or disagree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this loss, I was talking to someone about it earlier. This loss, as for us MMA fans, is a good thing, right? For hardcores, maybe, or for casuals, maybe not as much, but for us hardcore fans, it means we get to see someone who's like, the fact that Dustin won shows that you can earn that. You know, you can overcome those obstacles. You can have losses and still make it to the top. As for Conor, he's going to be more active. Either he wants to do this or he doesn't. If he doesn't want to do it, you know, it is what it is. But if he wants to continue to fight, he's going to be fighting 3, 4, or 5 times a year, which is what we want, right? We don't want to see Conor once every 2, 3 years jumping past guys that get title shots. No, what we want is we want to see Conor fighting 3, 4 times a year. It doesn't matter if it's the biggest names or not. I just want to see Conor fight. And notice how this entire time we didn't mention Manny Pacquiao or Jake or Logan Paul. It's because we want to see him fight in MMA.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Mike, how do you feel about the loss of Conor McGregor affecting the MMA world?
It's a good question. I think for a lot of people, it's going to, you know, his stock dropped a little bit. Seeing their, you know, it's the one guy a lot of people tune into, and just seeing him get knocked out, they're going to think he's done. We know he's not done. Or at least I really don't believe that. I think his next fight, whoever it's against, he's going to have a lot better performance. I think I don't think he'll be throwing his shots as hard. It seemed like he was really trying to put Dustin away early. That seemed to backfire a little bit. But as for the loss of the MMA community, I think it's good. Honestly, let's get some new faces in here. A guy like Charles Oliveira should be getting a title shot. And Conor McGregor, if let's say he beats Dustin, you know, it might have just been I don't know who I'm trying to think of, but a big name. Like maybe Charles gets held up there just because he's not a big enough name for the title. Whereas Dustin and Charles, I believe, will be the next fight. Pretty confident in that.
Yeah. I didn't mean to say the loss of Conor McGregor also like he passed away. I meant to say
I think I was the one who worded it like that.
I was like, man, that was morbid. All he did was lose a fight. And you know what? Now it's like the Lord of the Rings. It's like now you get the return of the king. You know what I mean? You get to see the possible return of Conor McGregor. But I'll end it with one last question. Mike, I think I know your answer, but Sergio, I'll ask you if you could choose anyone for Conor McGregor to fight at any weight class, excluding 145. Let's just say 155 and 170 next. Who would you pick?
RDA. I just think RDA is the only guy there that's not really matched up. And based on their history, I think it could sell. I think that could be headline a pay-per-view easily. So as much fun as Nick Diaz would be, I think RDA is the right fight to make.
Right. There's old photos already of them squaring off. I remember what Conor was wearing. That was a crazy time. They could play promos that already have existed. That would be great. Mike, who do you got?
I do think RDA is a good call, and they were just tweeting about it a couple months ago after RDA's win over Felder. But you asked which one do I want to see, and it's Tony Ferguson. I think that's a crazy fight.
That would be insane, man. Those are two great choices, both of you guys. And I honestly would love to see Paul Felder versus Conor McGregor. I'd be heartbroken no matter who lost, but I just think it would be such a great matchup.
Oh, yeah. I would love to see Paul get that fight.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. That's Sergio Pinheiro. That's Mike Beasley. I'm Joe Gravel. This was Digging Deep, and we'll catch you later.